very good to be here. My name is Rikrik Febianto. I'm a partner in KPMG, focusing on technology consulting, especially for financial service industry. So maybe before we continue, maybe we'd like to hear some quick introduction from each of our guests here. Two handsome gentlemen as well here. Maybe start from you, Sam.
Thanks a lot, Rikrik. Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Shyam Mohan. I'm a principal for strategy consulting of Backbase. For those of you who haven't heard of Backbase, we are an engagement banking platform headquartered in Amsterdam, but we also have offices in Singapore and in North America. What we are responsible for is to drive or orchestrate value for banking clients core. My experience is within financial services and consulting, and I'm looking forward to this fireside chat.
Thank you, Shyam. And Charles?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I have about 27 plus working years experience, a mix about from consulting and as a banker. At a certain point, I asked myself, do I see myself more as consultant with banking experience or banker with consulting experience? I think I choose the second one, more banker with consulting experience. In terms of the areas, more mainly in transformation, digital, and retail banking.
All right, thank you, Charles. So, what we are going to discuss here actually is about we know about the digital transformation that has been happening for years in banking and so forth. And we're talking about the industry that has been maybe one of the oldest industry in the world. Yeah? Ever since people has do trading, banks or institutions like banks already works. And right now, bank is so important. It's like the vein of the national economy. Bank determines the flow of money, so the people can do the economy activities. So a sound and stable bank is very important for the national economic growth and at the end for the national welfare. So right now, in Indonesia in particular, we are just started the digital revolution, especially after the COVID-19. So one of the topics that we're going to discuss is maybe around three topics. One is what exactly that digital has been impacted to the banks, conventional banks. We have new competitors from digital banks, neobanks, financial fintechs, and also some super apps. Now people can do the banking activities without need for the banks. When I pay my bills, usually I use banks, but now I can use Tokopedia or even the Shopee or other super apps. So we're talking about that. This topic is on how banks can actually adopt, evolve, or even transform in order to get ahead of these new competitors and winning more margins in the market. So why don't we start with our first topic? So Shyam, maybe start from you. What do you see are the new disruptive services that you see not only in Indonesia but also other markets outside Indonesia, Asia Pacific or global?
Sure, Rikrik. So I think the way that I see digital banks disrupting is actually by sticking to the basics, getting the basics right. Like you start with something like customer onboarding. Being able to get customer onboarding right the first time is almost directly proportional to the customer lifetime value and the relationship that you have, right? So starting from making sure that you have a frictionless, easy, seamless experience. Because there's 60% drop-off rate that happens today in customer onboarding. So it's very, very important to make sure that you have a frictionless experience and onboard a customer to give them a bank account, give them an e-wallet, give them a virtual debit card in a matter of minutes, right? I think the second most important thing is because these digital banks operate in a very branchless fashion, right? It's absolutely important to double down on customer service, right? How can you provide an always-on, easily accessible customer service right in the palm of your hand? How are you able to raise a complaint within 2 or 3 clicks, right? This actually fosters a level of trust and reassurance in the customer's mind about the institution that they would want to pledge their money with, right? Like we did a recent survey at Forrester, found out that, especially in Asian markets, right? Like if you look at digital-only banks, only about 16 to 20% of the customers actually believe that digital-only banks are not self-serving and actually are out there to serve customers. And just put that in perspective, that number is almost 60% for your incumbent banks, right? So there is clearly a huge gap that these digital banks need to do something about, and they're doing about it, right?
Okay, so Charles, you must also have been observing these competitors, this new digital and so forth. But based on your observation, what exactly did they do differently with the conventional bank that you usually do? And is it something that really so different, so that's why they can grow so fast? Or because you've been a banker for some time, right? For quite some time, yeah? And you see how the customer interacts with the bank. You see the back-end operation. You also know the integration process. So how do you see these disruptive services that offered us by these digital banks or these neobanks? What are so different?
That's a very interesting question, Rikrik. Before I answer that question, I think it would be good for us to define first what do we actually really mean by neobank or digital bank? Because becoming a big buzzword today, but when you ask somebody, they might have a different understanding. For me, if you look at Indonesia, when we talk about digital bank landscape, I think we can split that into two types banks here. One, which is bank that already exists for a while, relatively big, and starting to becoming more active with their digital channel. That's the first type. The second type is basically bank that really mainly operate using digital as their main channel. Example for that, Jago, Neo-commerce, Alobank, etc., etc. And the first type for the big four banks, Maybank, Permata, KB Bukopin, you name it, right? So I think the key point here, neobank or digital bank, using my definition, the way how we can differentiate that with the traditional banks, basically those are the banks that mainly using digital as their main channel to meet their customers. Doesn't mean that they don't have branches, they do, but the number is relatively low, right? So using that definition, what is the things that I think they're doing very well compared to the traditional bank? We can look at it from different point of view here. One is the size. Second thing, the use of technology. The third thing is the culture that differentiates them from the traditional bank. In terms of the size, they're relatively small compared to other banks. Look at Jago. They take over a small bank, transform them into a digital bank. Look at Neo. Again, the same thing as well. From that point of view, only from the size, they can be more agile compared to an existing large bank. It's just like comparing probably speedboat and a cruise ship, right? From technology point of view, the way how I see, if you look at the digital channel itself, the application, the mobile banking, I think comparing the traditional bank and the digital bank in terms of the functionality at this stage is still quite similar. But the speed for them to come up with new features is also related to my first point. It can be more quicker of that, So that's the advantage what I see from digital bank. On the other hand, the existing bank, they already have quite large network. They already have a large number of customers that they can, optimize there, right? I think the last point to answer to your question, Rikrik, what is also very important in my view is to look at the customer, which is the most important thing, actually. Are the consumers in Indonesia are already fully ready to only deal with digital bank? I think that's the main question. The answer for that, in my view, in emerging market countries, including Indonesia, there is still need for consumers to meet people.
To have a physical interactions.
Exactly.
To have more personal experience. Okay. So I think it's interesting. So from both gentlemen here, I think the most distinguished is speed. Speed, seamless experience, ability to connect to other lifestyle needs, not only about the banking, right? And also ability to come up with so the product and services can really cater what they want, and work in a very convenient way of building interaction through their mobiles or through their internet banking, right? So those are some of the services that they have. But in order to do that, for example, if the conventional banks want to have those values in their own environment to be able to serve the customer faster, right? Seamless experience, integrate to other lifestyle needs of their necessities. So what do you think? What do they have to do? I know they have a lot of things to do in terms of technology, people, process, channels, and so forth. But maybe start from you first, Shyam. What exactly, if the banks wants to go there, and we have so many options of technology, right? In mobile banking, in customer experience, in layers, and how about the legacy systems that they have? How do they integrate the legacy systems? So maybe from the technology point of view, Shyam, what do you see? How the bank has to do? What the bank has to do?
Sure. I think this is actually a very key challenge that we're seeing across the industry globally, right? Like today, if you look at if you draw a process map of all of the technology architecture, it'll look like a bowl of spaghetti, right? Multiple siloed systems, multiple point solutions to try and create value just for one small process, right? So I think the siloed infrastructure, what it does is it limits the innovation, limits the amount of innovative capabilities that we offer. So to answer your question, right, also multiple platforms further increases your cost to serve because it introduces redundancy in the system. A lot of people have to use multiple logins to do the same thing. Just for one data point, you might have to log in 5 different systems, right? So this is very, very high cost to serve. Then there are extrinsic motivators, such as, like the regulatory requirement where, if you want to do eKYC, for instance, you can only do it through government-approved vendors in this country, right? So how are we solving this problem? The first step to solving this problem is to be able to first rationalize all the systems that you have on display with you, right? Can you create open APIs, cross them, connect them? Can you either use those systems or can you partner with other best-in-class fintechs for your eKYC, for your account aggregation, for your all the other needs that you might have from the banking perspective, right? Find them, and then finally either build, buy, or partner with a overarching platform that's able to become your orchestrator, that's able to connect all components together and build the value for your customers. So that's how we see it prioritizing. That's how we see banks prioritizing who to work with. Should we build this in-house? Should we partner with somebody, or should we just buy it outright? So those are, I think, the key decisions that a bank needs to decide on how to move forward here.
Okay, so removing the silos by building some platform that can connect between legacy and also the initiatives. I think that's also one of the big banks in Indonesia, one of Himbara banks. They transformed their mobile applications for almost 2 years. They developed by themselves, and it took almost 150 people to build these new super apps, and it pays handsomely. Their fee-based income is increasing significantly, and also it's very easy to introduce the new service to this mobile platform. So I think that's exactly what they do, removing the silos and building a platform. Okay, but that it's not only about technology. Maybe Charles, if you can share to us here, when doing the digital transformations, what are the steps that the bank should do, yeah, encompassing all aspects of technology, process, people, and also cultures, I believe, right? And also some, because bank is very regulated industry, so they have to follow what OJK and Bank Indonesia. So regulation and compliance is also equally important. So can you share what are the steps to digital transformation?
Yeah. So I was here yesterday as well as one of the speakers. I will reshare what I already shared yesterday as well, because I think this is still relevant. When we, look at the terminology digital transformation, which is also another big buzzword today, the emphasis nowadays is really still more on the first word, digital. But personally, I would say I would prefer to see more the second word, which is more important, transformation. And the way how I see when we talk about digital transformation, I see that more as a business transformation. Although that digital technology plays a key role there, but it's just one of the vehicles. The first thing that bank really needs to see is to answer the question: where do we want to be with our business in the next 3 to 5 years, for example? You know what the goal is, you know where you want to go, then you take step back and then think about what does it mean. We are here today, we want to be there. How does the transformation should look like? And that should be look exactly what you just said, Rikrik. Not only from technology, but also from business process and also from the people side as well, right? But the key thing is really getting the fully alignment at the management level, the top management level, in terms of where do we want to be. Once you have that, you define the strategic initiative and translate that into strategic execution on that one. Where you need to have the right people as well to execute that. And that's one of the big challenges that many banks also have. The thing is that when you want to do transformation, you're talking about your future business. So it means that actually you need to have your best people to do that work, transformation. But at the same time, the same people also needed to run the area as well. Right?
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting, because I also experienced the same thing when facing with my clients. At the same time, they have business as usual, right? They have targets, they have operations, objective, KPIs. And on the other hand, with this transformation program, they have tens to hundreds of initiatives, right? So how to balance the Charles? I mean, at the same time, for example, if I'm the head of IT development, for example, I have 20 people, right? Not only about technology, just give you some examples. These 20 people, all of them has already been occupied with the business as usual projects. Right? At the same time, we have 20 new digital development initiatives. So, in your experience, how to juggle this, how to overcome this workload problem, so the transformation can be run, but at the same time, business as usual operations is also still can be managed. Maybe after Charles, I want to know from your perspective in other banks outside Indonesia. Okay.
So if I can share from my personal experience, right? Assume that at the corporate level, we already know where we want to go. And one of the strategic initiatives is to strengthen our digital channel. Let's focus on that one as an example.
Digital channel, okay.
The first thing that we need to make sure is that we understand the needs from the customers. And this is something that I keep sharing to my team in our bank. If you look at a digital bank and look at from the customer needs, I think we can group the needs of customer into 5 things here: to pay, to save, to borrow, to invest, and to protect. In these 5 categories, you can create, hundreds lists of things, use cases that you want to create. But what you need to do here is really prioritize what is the key things that they really need at this moment. if you look at those things, and by the way, not all digital bank already cover all these 5 things, right? But if you look at for the customer needs, to pay, to save are really the most important one. You start with there first. How to make the experience for the user easier for them, starting from the onboarding. Nowadays, nobody wants to go to branches just to create an account anymore. If you can do it seamlessly, digital, you do that. So the key thing is listen to your customer.
Listen to your customer first. Okay. So maybe Shyam, what do you think?
That's a good segue into what I'm seeing as the paradigm shift, right? So I think there's a clear demarcation between customization and personalization. If you think about what is customization, this is built for the customer. If you think about hamburger menu, if you think about widget-based architecture, where the customer decides what they want to see from their overall product portfolio, right? But this is working heavily on the assumption that the customer actually understands financial services, the customer understands financial products. Right? Banks are making this assumption, and therefore they're creating this experience. But what digital banks and certain other players, right, like these platform era players are doing, like the likes of Uber or Zomato, they're actually working on personalization, which means that they are trying to predict what the next best action should be for the customer, right? And they're moving away from this hamburger menu to actually on-screen buttons. Like nowadays you see on-screen buttons, which is the same. They're lucidly showing you what each option means in very easy language, easy to understand language. So the customer knows exactly what they want. And even if the things that they don't want, the bank or the service is being able to educate the customer that this is what it is through nudges. And more importantly, it's to be able to your point, right? Being able to understand the customer is to be able to do behavioral analytics and figure out what must my customer life cycle look like. Like when you graduate from school, you graduate from college, the first thing you do is get a job. Eventually you need a car. Eventually you need a house. Right? So what is the right customer life moment that you can tap into and provide the right service at the right time becomes absolutely important. So I feel like we need to move away from customization and move into personalization and back to personalization.
Okay, thank you, Shyam. So one jargon that everyone is also doing right now is about agile way of working, right? So in order to fully digitalize, they have to produce the product very fast. Time to market becomes critical. So they adopt this agile way of working. So do you think it's really a jargon, or do you think it actually works? And if it works, how do you differentiate the team within the bank? So I mean, do you separate the team? Okay, this team A do development and operations by using agile. This is for digital product, and team B is for legacy product. Do you think it's the right way? Maybe start from you first.
So in my opinion, I think agile is a very misused word in the industry.
Misused words, yes.
Super highly misused word. To your point, should it be only team A is agile and the rest of the organization is not? I don't think so. It needs to come from right from the organization, right? Like you need to foster a sense or an environment of innovation. Only then can you attract the right talent, right? Like there are two enablers for any transformation. There's technology, sure, you can invest in the right technology, find the right partner. But the second thing is people, right? How are you able to find the right people at the right time? And why would somebody work for a bank or a financial institution and not work for a tech company? At the end of the day, you're going to hire engineers, right? Why wouldn't they go to the likes of Google, the likes of Meta, the likes of any of the other fintechs that exist? It's because banks need to stop thinking themselves as a bank and start thinking of themselves as tech companies, which means you need to create that environment. You need to build squads and tribes that might be pool resources.
Tribes, yeah.
Yes, you need to be able to build tribes that are capable of being deployed across projects. So it needs to come from within. It has to be an organizational change. The organization overall has to be ready for this digital transformation. Then will be successful.
Alright. Okay, so basically one thing is to build the tribes, or in some other word we call it center of excellence. Yeah? So it's small teams that can be deployed to any other projects using this agile for handle of certain products or certain developments, right?
Yes. Okay. For each of the initiatives, right?
Okay. How about you, Charles? What do you see? How the agile is being implemented in the banks, for especially during this digital initiative?
Theoretically, it's good. Speed is indeed the key to the market. Reality is.
What we want to know is the reality. That's all we want to know.
The reality is you always have the challenge when to divide between running the transformation-related project and the BAU. But at the end of the day, again, I keep saying this, it goes back to the priority that the top management put. I give an example. One of the pioneer of digital banking in Indonesia, back in 2017, the top management already very clearly agreed that they need to build digital bank, and they really put a dedicated team working in an agile way without needing to think about the existing BAU, basically. Even they also put people coming from other industries, not only from banking.
Okay.
Which is also a great thing also, so that, they don't always think from the banking point of view, but also from a different angle.
Okay.
So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here, agile is definitely important. Speed is very important. But with the condition, in order for you to execute that, there should be a clear priority being put there and commitment from the management to run it in that way.
Okay. Because we have this business as usual, right? We have to take care, right? So let me summarize this. So in order to make sure that this agile works, it's first about the talent, right? It has to be attractive new talent that can do this agile. Second, the thought from the top, the commitment that they will do this, right? Otherwise, they will be distracted by other business as usual. And also about the culture, right? Taking people from other industries. It's create a mix of cultures of different perspectives, right? And but apart from that, I believe that the culture within the bank is also equally important in order to move the transformations, right? So maybe start from you, Charles. Can you give examples of the culture challenges in changing the way people within the banks to transform themselves into digital? One example of the challenge, and maybe if you can share how you handle that.
Yeah, I've been involved in 2 banks running cultural transformation.
Cultural transformations, okay.
I think it starts first from the human being. People do not like to change.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, if organization does not adapt, they will die. So, the need to change is really there, and it's always there, right?
Okay.
Now, it's also still related to what I already mentioned before. Again, the priority from the top management that we need to change, right? Give the clear direction what kind of new organization that we want to be. But the second thing, which is very key in the execution for cultural transformation, is how do you make sure that you do not only do campaign, put poster on the wall, this is our values, blah blah blah, but you need also to put it on the KPIs of the people and monitor that. Otherwise, it won't work. I've seen that, been there. The key thing is really put it in KPI. When we talk about salary increase and bonus,
then you will do it. Okay, so there are 3 things that Charles. First about the burning platform, harus ada. So it has to have a strong reason why you need to change, right? Another one is what needs to be changed, very clear. The gaps, and then whatever activities, the new things that they have to do, it has to be put in a KPI, so they can see directly the result of what they're doing, right? Okay, so maybe is there anything else that you think is important in terms of culture, Shyam?
Yeah, so I think what resonated very well with me was the fact that you spoke about KPIs, right? All of us talk about creating a roadmap, creating a strategic roadmap.
Okay.
How do we, create impact? But Sometimes the digital KPIs, like if you want to launch a digital bank, your KPIs are like I want high NPS, I want high monthly active users, I want high adoption, right? Maybe I want high average revenue per user. But is digital going to be the single driver for my revenue? Is that my future? Am I thinking of that? Am I linking my digital KPIs to my business KPIs? Which are things like, do I want CASA growth? Do I want revenue growth? Do I want interest income growth? Do I want fee income or commission income growth? Right? It's very important to be able to connect your digital KPIs to your business strategy and your business KPIs. Otherwise, transformation will not be successful. And that's what we see when we're interacting with clients. The first thing we say is, what are your KPIs? What is your roadmap? How can you articulate the value of each feature that you want to launch? And once you've launched that feature, how do you realize the value?
Okay. So it's about mapping what you're doing now to the overall goals of the transformation objectives. Okay. All right. So maybe before I go to the final questions, so maybe I will ask the floor if there's any questions from you guys that you want to ask to these two gentlemen here. One is the banker, another one is the technologist. Usually they are in the same room for a project. Right now they are not talking about the projects. So any questions from the floor? Okay, so it seems that they are already absorbed what you say. So they're ready to execute. So maybe final questions. It's about moving forward. So we already set the transformation. So we already said wants to have changes in technology, culture, people, process, and so forth. At the end of the day, it's about the executions, right? So we already have this plan. Sometimes this is where the people say that the devil is in the details, right? It's actually in execution. So what do you see the challenges that the banks might have during the executions and how to mitigate any of those risks? Maybe Shyam, maybe from the technology point of view, because dealing with these legacy systems, introducing the new systems, and banks, especially maybe not only in Indonesia, I don't think they have proper documentation which system connect to one system, right? They have myriad of the applications running in silos, right? But we already said, okay, we want to change. But what will be the execution challenges and how we can do that? How we can offer up that?
Sure. So after you understood what the status quo is, right? Like you understand that this is, however siloed, however spaghetti your system architecture might be, this is what status quo is, right? Then you start to rationalize what is the value that each of these systems are giving you, right? Am I best in class in doing each of these components? If I'm not, is there another player that I need to position in this space? Can I work with them? Do they have open APIs? Do I want to be the bank that has open APIs? Do I want to use open banking and things like that? Do I want to be banking as a service? Do I want to connect with marketplaces? How do I incept my product? How do I innovate my product into certain other channels as well, right? So that is one key feature. How does this all start? I think this all starts with banks having to evolve from a project mindset to a product-led mindset. What is the project mindset? Look at scope, look at timelines, and a budget. These are the trifecta. Application is that.
That's okay. All right. What about you, Charles? During your experience in terms of execution of this transformation plan, what would be the key challenges that you see and how should we overcome?
In many things that I do personally and also when defining program, I always start from the end. At the end, what do we want to achieve actually? Right? So when we talk about digital journey, digital transformation, at the end of the day, at the end can be 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, what is the main thing that we want to produce? If you haven't designed that properly, and then you start the execution, at the end of the day, you will have something that not really addressing your business needs. So that's the first thing. Assuming you already have that, the second thing will be, in my view, is really about the people and the governance. You set up the right governance, when you have the sponsor, the steering committee, really committed there.
Okay.
defining the roles of the people that will be involved in the project, and having the right people. People that can really drive the program, the leaders, and also people that can dream about how do we want to look like in the future, and then making sure what is being delivered is really there.
Okay. So, Charles, sorry.
One last point, maybe. A large organization that have a lot of resource of pool, that have more advantage compared to smaller banks that do not have right resource. In that case, that's where you might want to consider to take third party to help you there.
Okay, yeah. Through managed service, subcontracting, outsourcing, and so forth. But in overall terms, do you think is it a good practice for the bank or organization to set up a dedicated program management office here to oversee the performance of the programs? Do you think it's a good approach, or better just to use the existing project management systems that already been helped in the organization? Do you think better to have a dedicated PMO for digital transformation, for example, directly report to the CEOs or something? Or what do you see in reality?
Of course, we need to see first the size of the program, right? If you look at a very large digital transformation program, you don't have any other option of having a dedicated PMO.
Yeah,
You need to have that because, as what you said already, the budget is not cheap.
Correct.
You know, so you really want to make sure that the money that you spend is really being utilized properly.
And reap the target benefits, right?
Exactly. But if you talk about just a small initiative, then probably the government should not be that heavy.
Okay. So that's important, depending on the size of the organization, right? Okay, so maybe you already been here for about 30 minutes, so that probably conclude our conversation. Hopefully you guys have get some insight from practical experience, especially from Shyam and Charles here. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.